is the switch flipped? Have we finally found the switch, and have they flipped it on offense, Dan?
As long as they play clean, I think that answer is yes. And, this is one of these moments when a lot of us who cover the game and talk about the game on a consistent daily basis, one part, we were dead on about the Chiefs offense and the way that we saw it and the way that we talked about it. And in the same aspect, there is that level of tip your hat and appreciation, acknowledgement to Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and Matt Nagy. The reason why, Rich, is this. When we talked about the Chiefs, it was, hey, the drops are bad. There is a lack of focus on their offense. Patrick's trying to do too much. Their tackles are not playing well. They're trying to find out who is that second reliable pass catching option. Those were all real things in the moment. And as this season's gone on, especially as you got into December, that started to show itself. They started to figure out how to help their tackles with some of the chips with tight ends. Patrick started to kind of settle into who he could both trust when it comes to catching the ball and seeing it the same way with some of the nuance of pass catching stuff. Rashee Rice absolutely emerged both in his performance and the way that they used him. And I just remember almost on a weekly basis, Patrick, Andy Reid, and Matt Nagy all saying, we got to stop beating ourselves. We got to stop beating ourselves. We got to stop beating ourselves with the penalties and the drops. And it got to a point where, at least I said, at some point that has to actually happen, though. It can't just be like the coach speak. They were right. I think what's happened is some of those things have gone away, at least when it's mattered the most in the last week of the season and certainly over the first 2 weeks of the playoffs. And they've started to figure out who they can rely on and who they can trust. And obviously a daunting task this week, but I think it's one of those rare things in the league, where our view of them was accurate, while you have to credit them for staying the course and not panicking and figuring it out through the bumps.
So how do you see the Ravens performing right now? It does look like Mark Andrews is right around the corner as well. The second half different than the first. What did you make of the Ravens' performance and how they match up against that Chiefs defense?
Yeah, it's going to be a great challenge for Kansas City defensively. I think Steve Spagnuolo, the defense coordinator, will have to have one of those wow plans and executions to stop this offense. I think what we saw in that game was the biggest difference in this Baltimore Ravens offense this year in comparison to the one that we've seen in the first 5 or 6 years in Lamar's career. This is not a shot at all to Greg Roman, who was there as their offensive coordinator previously. I think he was fantastic in many ways, got them a 1 seed, Lamar MVP, all that. One of the issues was in game, they would consistently struggle to adjust. I remember, Rich, doing a breakdown on NFL Live, I think 2 or 3 years ago, in a post-game after they played the Steelers, where Lamar said we had become predictable and the Steelers knew our plays. And they ran the first play of the second half was the first play of the game. And the first third down of the second half was the first third down of the game. If you go watch the Houston game, the halftime adjustment that their new offensive coordinator, Todd Monken, made was awesome. Simply put, Houston was playing a lot of what we call match coverage, which is like zone defense until a person on the offense gets in your area, and then you match them like it's man-to-man. And he said, okay, if you're going to keep doing that, what we're going to do is create design quarterback runs for Lamar, or we're going to create kind of rub or mesh concepts to flood an area and give you too many people to cover. That didn't happen in the past. And I think you sit back and you sit there and go, that's exactly what was the needed change for this offense. I love Kansas City. I think the story is awesome. I think the resurrection of Matt Nagy as their play caller post Chicago has been really impactful. Andy Reid's awesome. I think their defense made some big stops. Rich, one of my jobs, as you know, this is like, you got to figure out how teams are going to get beat, or you got to anticipate what teams are going to do.
Yeah.
I don't know what you do with this Baltimore defense. I don't know. Like I sit here and I say, you got to get big and pound the football against them. You can't. You got to spread them out and make them tackle in space. Hamilton's unbelievable.
Yes.
You got to take shots down the field. Sounds good. You got to be great on third down. Their simulated blitzes are ridiculous. So I think that's the huge challenge in the game as well.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.